Yeah, but we got knocked out, so that's irrelevant. We were knocked out before we pulled down the purse.
Yeah, fair.
Was it 2005 when Jamie Thackeray came back to us, but he was actually ineligible to play? I'm sure it was 2005, because he had played for Rochdale in one of the early rounds.
Wow.
So,
it's worth looking into that.
Yeah, well, no, but I think had it been like a Super League team we'd played, they'd have thrown us out and just replaced us, or if it had been found out sooner. But it wasn't discovered until like the semi-final, by which point nobody wants to suddenly put Rochdale in, do they?
So, on his Rugby League project page, there's no mention of him playing for Rochdale in the Challenge Cup in 2005, just for Hull FC. But that is an interesting one, isn't it?
There you go.
And you won it that year, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm sure it was 2005. It was certainly one year that this happened.
He's never played for Rochdale, according to his Wikipedia page. But let me just see.
Well.
Had he been on loan from you guys then? Because it looks like he was with you at the start of the season. So it maybe was when he came back and played at Doncaster in 2008. He played at Doncaster on loan in 2008, so it might have been that year.
Maybe it was 2008.
Which is a relief, obviously, because it's.
Which is when we also got to the final. Did we?
And lost to St Helens.
Yeah. And then 2012 we got to the final and lost to you lot. No, 2013 rather.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
Oh no, well, sorry, my consultants come back and said it was 2008 we cheated in.
There you go.
So 2005, that was all just, and we fairly won it and beat Leigh, beat St Helens and beat everyone else.
I have to say, I do remember 2005 particularly well, for two reasons. I was at the semi-final. I was sat in the posh seats because my employer had access to a sponsors box, and it was the one and only live game that Anna's ever been to.
No way.
So, yeah, true.
Is that because Bradford weren't in it?
What is that? Why she went? You mean?
Yeah, because Emma won't go to games where the Wigan men's team are playing. She thinks I get too excited. She'll go to the women's games.
Which you do.
She'll go to women's games reluctantly, but that's more because they're like amateurs, aren't they? So it doesn't matter as much.
I don't know.
So
I think it was just an opportunity thing. I think
that was a semi-final, and it mattered. So
2005. Speaking of Peter being a magician, in the final, he couldn't come to the final because he had been running magic workshops all week, and he had to do the finale on the Saturday morning. So he was at home. It was 3 weeks before we got married, I think. And after Brough had scored, and then Cook had scored and Brough had kicked the goal, I rang him and said, "How long's left? How long's left?" And he said, 3 minutes are left. So I started saying to people near us, 3 minutes left, 3 minutes left. And you hear it being passed around. And then eventually it got passed back to me that there was 3 minutes left.
And by that point, there was definitely a minute and a half left.
Yeah, exactly. But at the Millennium in Cardiff, the screen was just too far away to see the clock on, because it was, how the BBC do it, the tiny little clock in the corner.
They did, yeah. I think they've improved since then, but yeah, it wasn't like the Sky one where it's a big clock that you can definitely make out, yeah.
And, then we named our wedding tables after the players.
Of course, yeah. The winning team. I didn't get to do that. I wanted that, but I was refused. I had compromise and stuff. So Anna, did she hate it that much, or did it just... Was it just that not every game that you're in a box?
Well, I'm going to say we clearly spoiled her. She should have taken it to freezing cold Odsall, and she'll have seen how the other half live.
Get her on the popular side.
Yeah. I don't know. We just never kind of tried to go to a game again. But yeah, I think it was relatively early on in our relationship, and it was still in the I can impress you by going to this thing type phase.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I remember that because that was the same year that Toulouse got to the semi-final because they played the day before at the same stadium. I remember that.
Yeah,
Obviously, Leeds beat.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they were on the Sunday.
Were they the day after?
Yeah, because if we had played on the Sunday, we'd have been back from holiday in time.
There you go. You see. 2020 recollection there.
Yeah, we've also got a match review from Matt Speakman about the Wigan versus Leeds SL Rewind game that was on Friday night from 2015. Matt said, pretty good win for Wigan and a good matchup of solid defence and set attacking plays versus McDermott's typical offloading style. Always nice to see Leeds lose after Eddie spends 80 minutes talking about how outstanding they are. Matty Smith was never the best kicker but had a habit of making the important ones. Matty Smith's general play kicking in this game was absolutely outstanding. Actually watching this one back, but that's the only game I've watched in full over the last week. I think I was one of those people who maybe overdosed at Easter. 5 days of watching a hell of a lot of rugby meant that I had a few days off. So yeah, but Wigan at times were lucky in that game, but then I guess it flipped around in the end and they deserved what they got. But yeah, have you guys watched any other games this week? Sarah, have you watched anything?
No, nothing.
Yeah, I watched the 1971 Challenge Cup final, which was on Our League on Saturday or Sunday. Can't remember which.
Yeah, did you see? I've put the posts going back out to get people to put match reviews in, and I tried to find a contemporary of the era picture of Wembley Stadium to put as the background picture. But we didn't get any fan reviews on it, so we're just going to get yours.
Yeah, can I just say it was a really interesting game. So 71 was the last time that a drop goal was 2 points, not 1.
So this was the last scored was a drop goal.
Yeah, and there was
forward.
Yes, it was an outstanding drop goal as well, by the way. But yeah, and tactically, Leigh played on that, so they got themselves into position. There was a lot of tactical kicking from Murphy. They took penalty goals when they had the chance because tries were only 3 points, not 4. So a penalty goal was worth more. Drop goal was worth 2. So tactical kicking was much more important. You had four tackles instead of 6. It was this real. It felt like it was a real pivot. Kind of a changing of the rules kind of game, and it was somewhere between. We talked a little bit, didn't we, about the '96 game and how that felt very different to today's game.
Yes.
And this felt this obviously 20 odd years before that, and that again felt like a different generation. Yeah, I really enjoyed watching it. That some of the play was great. It was really kind of fast and loose at times, which we saw in the '96 game.
Well, it would have been hugely different because you're talking 5 metre defensive lines. You're talking the competitive scrums, like you say. You're talking kicks, points for kicks being worth proportionately a lot more, so they're much more valuable, like you've already mentioned. So huge differences.
Yeah, pushing in the scrums, proper pushing. The thing about you have to, the binding in the scrum. If you don't bind straight away, it was a penalty. You didn't get a second opportunity. Just like a different game.
Imagine if Rugby Union introduced that. It might be more entertaining to watch.
It was amazing. Like there was a couple of times the Leigh hooker didn't bind. He popped up in the scrum, and it was like a penalty. And it was just like, it was just a completely different viewing experience. And I have to say, I've enjoyed watching the older games. As much as I'm sure some people are interested in games from 2015 and whatever, but for me, I like watching the older ones just to see how the game's evolved. That's more interesting for me personally.
I enjoy any game that's before 2014 because I don't remember them as well because I didn't watch them and then talk about them the next day.
Yes, that's fair enough. Yeah.
Leigh, have you guys been watching any of the old games around your way?
I can't. The days of all kind of. I can't remember when it was that I watched things, but I watched a few NRL games. I went and watched. I think it must have been after the show last week. I went and watched Gaz Ellis playing for Tigers against. I think it must have been the Bulldog. I think El Masri scored. He played for the Bulldogs.
He did, yeah.
So it was. I just found a game and watched that, and watched the game where we had Andrew Johns, the first game against Leeds. That was on Facebook. I was
before he found his way into Danny Bruff's pocket.
Yeah.
So what? Obviously, you're newer to watching rugby league than the other three of us. So what have you made of some of the older stuff that you've seen, and how much difference do you even notice from games from what was that 2006 when 2006 or 2007 ish or?
What, Andrew John?
Yeah.
2005.
Oh right, okay, yeah. So
yeah. I mean that game was probably. I don't think I didn't really notice much different. It seemed. I mean, and there was people that I recognised in that team, like Benny Westwood and what have you. But I thought that was fine. But the ones that I've watched ones that are earlier than that. I watched the Canberra Raiders versus the whatever the West Tigers used to be called before they got merged.
Either Balmain or the Magpies.
Balmain Tigers, yeah, it was like a grand final, and that was that was Wales apart. The middle of the pitch was just all sand, and I'm pretty sure I saw somebody at the play the ball. They kicked it forwards and
played it to themselves.
Yeah. Is that allowed now?
No.
Or in my life?
Yeah. But I don't remember when it dropped out of the game, but yeah, I've seen some stuff from the late 80s where that play was used. I don't.
It was used well after the late 80s.
Yeah.
It was used well into the 90s. I remember the rule changing because it used to be that if you didn't have two players in front of you, you could play it forward. You could do that. And then it became that you had to still play it backwards. So you played it backwards and then effectively ran round yourself to pick it up. And then I don't know, somehow that went out. But I remember I was explaining that to Joshua when we were watching all the Challenge Cup matches the other week.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, look, there was some contested scrums and things like that. Yeah, or felt more contested obviously than they do now. It has moved on.
Yeah. It just points to the way that leagues constantly evolved, and it's not until you look at a game from 90. I think 96 for me was a big shock because I remember going to games in 96 and it just felt like a different world, even though in your head it doesn't feel any different. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like 71,
you were at a game that was sunny that wasn't at Wembley.
Well, exactly. Yeah. It's 96 feels like yesterday, and it obviously isn't. But yeah, when you look at a game from 71, you can see the evolution, the players' bodies changing, and just everything. The tactics of the game, the way that the league has continually evolved, and it will continue to evolve. And you're just waiting for the next great evolution, aren't you? The next great innovation or something of that kind of nature to change something.
That's it. We get so fussy about things being the way it always was, or how it should be, or go back to this or whatever. But it's been everything. In terms of league structure, it's been everything, and people think going back to the way it was is going back to first past the post, when it's absolutely not when you look at the history of our sport. Whereas and some of the rule changes as well and stuff. Imagine anyone now talking about that, playing it to yourself thing. Probably, to be honest, in social isolation days, probably people are learning to play it to themselves again. So it might see its way creeping back in through the juniors that you guys work with, Leigh, or that you go and watch your kids play in, Sarah.
Yeah, but in one way, it's a way of not penalising the speed of the attacker. If the attacker can make the break and get through, then and the defender just manages to sort of get fingertips to them. That's why it was there, I think, and also to punish the defence if they weren't in a position to defend.
Darryl Clark could absolutely kill, wouldn't he, with that rule?
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing with rules,
taking
isn't
up
it?
what you're saying there, Sarah, for the way it worked. I'm just trying to think who would it work best for. Darryl Clark, wow.
Yeah, that's the nature of rules, though, aren't they? That they're always there to try to either to kind of improve the spectacle of the game, improving points for tries as opposed to, you want more tries than goals or whatever, or you're trying to maintain